The massive space station Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between star systems. It was built for one purpose: to host meetings between the galaxy's most powerful species. Today, emergency lights blinked red across its metal surface. Something big was happening. Inside the main meeting hall, 12 different alien species sat around a circular table. Each group looked completely different from the others. The Zephyrians stood tall with blue skin and 4 arms. The crystalline collective members looked like walking diamonds that sparkled under the lights. The Biohive Consortium delegates appeared as giant insects with multiple eyes. Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian Empire slammed one of his 4 hands on the table. His voice echoed through the chamber. "We cannot ignore this problem any longer. The humans are out of control." Chancellor Mordeth from the Crystalline Collective made a sound like breaking glass. "Agreed. In just 100 years, they have spread to over 50 star systems. This expansion threatens our established territories." The other delegates nodded their various heads, tentacles, and sensory organs. For the first time in centuries, every member of the Galactic Council agreed on something. The humans had to be stopped. Queen Vexithera of the Biohive spoke with thousands of voices at once. "Our trade routes have been disrupted. Human colonies appear in systems we marked for future expansion. They build without permission. They mine without asking. They act like they own the galaxy." Admiral Kethvar activated a holographic display in the center of the table. 3-dimensional images showed human ships, space stations, and planets. "Look at their military growth. 50 years ago, they had primitive rockets. Now they have warships that can travel faster than ours. Their weapons cut through our shields like they are made of paper." The Ethereal Collective's representative, a being made of pure energy, flickered with anger. "They refuse to acknowledge our authority. When we send diplomatic messages, they respond with strange phrases, something called filing complaints with the proper authorities. They treat the Galactic Council like we are some minor government office." Laughter bubbled up from the Aquarian delegate's water tank. "The funniest part is how they negotiate. Other species beg for permission to settle new worlds. Humans just move in and then send us maps showing where they live now. They call it courtesy notifications." The Mechanical Hegemony's robot representative spoke in electronic tones. "Analysis shows increasing confidence in human communications. Early messages were polite and careful. Recent messages are short and direct. Pattern suggests they no longer fear council response." Chancellor Mordeth's crystalline body rang like a bell when he was angry. Right now, he sounded like an entire orchestra. Fear? They should be terrified. No single species has ever challenged the combined might of the Galactic Council. We represent billions of worlds and trillions of citizens. That brings us to today's purpose, Admiral Kethvar said. He gestured to another hologram showing recent human activities. 3 weeks ago, human colonists established settlements in the neutral zone. When our patrol ships approached, the humans did not flee. Instead, they sent a message saying the area was now under human protection. They offered to discuss border adjustments at our convenience. The room erupted in various forms of alien outrage. Screeches, clicks, electronic sounds, and psychic waves filled the air. Several delegates stood up, their different body types creating a bizarre scene of universal anger. Border adjustments? Queen Vexithera's 1,000 voices reached a high pitch. The neutral zone has been neutral for 800 years. It belongs to no one by ancient treaty. Exactly, Admiral Kethvar continued. But the humans do not see it that way. They view unclaimed territory as free for settlement. They believe that if no one lives somewhere, anyone can move in. This primitive thinking threatens the careful balance we have maintained for centuries. The gaseous collective's representative, a cloud of intelligent vapor, swirled with agitation. What about their technology? Our intelligence reports are confusing. Some human worlds appear primitive, with simple buildings and basic manufacturing. Others show advanced technology we cannot understand. That is another concern, the Mechanical Hegemony delegate replied. Human technology development follows no logical pattern. They create advanced weapons while still using primitive transportation on their planets. They build faster than light ships but still use wheeled vehicles on the ground. Our analysis algorithms cannot predict their capabilities. Chancellor Mordeth made the decision everyone had been thinking about. We must act now before they become too strong. I propose we offer them one final opportunity for peaceful integration under Council oversight. Integration terms must be clear, Admiral Kethvar said. Limited expansion rights in designated sectors. All new technology subject to Council approval. reparations for unauthorized settlements, and permanent council observers on all human worlds to ensure compliance. The ethereal collective's representative pulsed with agreement. In exchange, we offer provisional membership in the Galactic Council, limited voting rights on matters that do not affect established member interests. This is generous beyond measure, Queen Vexthara declared. Most species would celebrate such an opportunity. Full council membership usually requires centuries of proving worthiness. The telepathic consortium's delegate, who had been silent until now, projected thoughts directly into everyone's minds. What if they refuse? The question hung in the air like a toxic cloud. No species had ever refused council membership. The benefits were too great, and the alternative was too terrible to consider. Admiral Kethiver's expression hardened. Then we implement the final protocol. All member fleets converge on human space. We demonstrate the cost of defying the Galactic Council. After we destroy half their colonies and capture their leadership, the survivors will be much more reasonable. The final protocol has never failed, Chancellor Mordeth noted with satisfaction. The mere threat of combined council action has prevented wars for 500 years. Even the most stubborn species choose cooperation when faced with overwhelming force. The hive mind collective's representative, a writhing mass of connected organisms, spoke with one voice. Historical analysis confirms this approach. 17 species have faced council ultimatums. All 17 accepted integration rather than destruction. Humans will follow the same pattern. The Aquarian delegate's voice bubbled with confidence. Humans are clever, but they are not stupid. When they see our combined fleet strength, they will understand their position. No rational species would choose extinction over integration. Admiral Kethvar called for a formal vote. All in favor of extending a final integration offer to humanity? 12 different forms of agreement filled the chamber. The decision was unanimous. Excellent. I will personally craft the invitation. We will emphasize the benefits of membership while making the consequences of refusal very clear. The humans will have 48 standard hours to respond. As the delegates prepared to leave, Queen Vexithara asked the question on everyone's mind. Who will deliver this message? We need someone who can speak for all humanity. Their diplomatic records show they have an ambassador, Elena Vasquez, stationed on Trade Station 7, the mechanical hegemony delegate reported. She has handled previous human council communications. We will invite her to Nexus Prime for final negotiations. The meeting ended with universal satisfaction. The human problem would soon be solved. The Galactic Council's authority would be reinforced. Order would return to the galaxy. None of them suspected that humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. None of them realized that their generous offer was about to trigger the biggest mistake in galactic history. The emergency lights on Nexus Prime continued blinking red, as if warning of the storm that was coming. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stepped off the transport ship and looked around Nexus Prime's docking bay. The space station was impressive, designed to show the power and wealth of the Galactic Council. Massive corridors stretched in all directions. Alien artwork decorated the walls. The air itself smelled of power and authority. She walked slowly, taking in every detail. Her escort was small. Just 2 security officers and a diplomatic aide. Most species brought large groups to show their importance. Elena had chosen differently. Sometimes less was more. The council had been very specific in their invitation. They wanted to discuss humanity's future role in galactic civilization. The words were polite, but Elena could read between the lines. This was not a friendly chat. This was an ultimatum. Her communication device buzzed with a message from Earth. Good luck, Elena. Remember, you speak for all of humanity today. Make us proud. It was signed by President Chen, but Elena knew it represented billions of people back home. The main meeting hall doors opened automatically as she approached. Inside, the 12 members of the Galactic Council waited in their designated seats. The circular chamber was designed to make visitors feel small and overwhelmed. It worked on most species. Helena walked to the center without showing any sign of nervousness. Admiral Kethivar stood up, all 4 of his blue arms spread wide in what his species considered a gesture of friendship. Ambassador Vasquez, welcome to Nexus Prime. We are honored by your presence. Thank you for the invitation, Elena replied in calm, clear tones. I am here to listen to your proposal. Chancellor Mordeth's crystalline body chimed softly as he activated a holographic display. Before we begin, we want you to understand the significance of this moment. The Galactic Council represents over 2,000 intelligent species across 50,000 star systems. Our combined military strength includes more than 1 million warships. Our economic power shapes trade across the galaxy. Elena nodded politely. Impressive numbers. We have maintained peace and order for over 800 years, Queen Vexithara added with her 1,000 voices. War, famine, and chaos are things of the past. Species prosper under council guidance. The ethereal collective's energy being flickered with what might have been pride. Member species enjoy protection, trade privileges, and technological sharing. Conflicts are resolved through diplomacy rather than violence. Everyone benefits from cooperation. Admiral Kethvar gestured to Elena's small group. Which brings us to humanity. Your species has grown rapidly in recent decades, too rapidly for the established order. Your expansion threatens carefully maintained boundaries. Your technology development bypasses normal oversight procedures. You settle where you please without permission. Chancellor Mordeth's voice rang like struck metal. You mine resources that should be allocated through proper channels. You build military vessels without declaring their capabilities to council authorities. Elena listened without interrupting. She had expected these complaints. Earth's intelligence services had predicted this exact conversation. The mechanical hegemony's robot representative projected data into the air above the table. Human population growth exceeds sustainable levels. Colony establishment patterns indicate aggressive expansion strategy. Military buildup suggests preparation for conflict. These patterns concern us deeply, Queen Vexithara continued. Left, unchecked, human expansion will destabilize the entire galactic community. Wars could begin. Trade could collapse. Centuries of progress could be lost. The Aquarian delegate's voice bubbled from his water tank. However, we are not unreasonable beings. We understand that humanity is young and perhaps unaware of proper galactic etiquette. That is why we are offering you this opportunity. Admiral Kethvar activated another hologram showing a detailed contract. The Council offers humanity full integration into galactic civilization. This is an unprecedented honor. Most species wait centuries for such consideration. Elena read through the terms carefully. The document was long and complex, but the main points were clear. Humanity would become a junior member of the Council with very limited rights and very specific obligations. Let me understand this correctly, Elena said finally. Humanity would accept restrictions on expansion to pre-approved sectors only. We would submit all new technology for Council evaluation and approval. We would pay reparations for what you call unauthorized settlements. And we would accept permanent Council observers on all human worlds. Correct, Chancellor Mordeth confirmed. These terms ensure that humanity integrates smoothly into the galactic community without disrupting established order. In exchange, the Ethereal Collective added, humanity receives provisional council membership. You would have limited voting rights on issues that do not affect senior member interests. Your people would gain access to council trade networks and protection services. Elena looked around the chamber at all 12 species representatives. This is certainly a comprehensive proposal. I will need time to consult with my government before responding. The gaseous collective's cloud form swirled with mild irritation. Time is a luxury we cannot afford. Human expansion continues even as we speak. Each day of delay makes the situation more complicated. How much time do you require? Admiral Kethvar asked. 48 hours should be sufficient to receive instructions from Earth, Elena replied. The telepathic consortium's delegate projected thoughts of impatience into everyone's minds. Most species respond immediately to such a generous offer. The benefits of council membership far outweigh any temporary restrictions. I understand your position, Elena said diplomatically. But humanity takes such decisions very seriously. We need to ensure that all implications are fully considered. Queen Vexithara's voices took on a slightly threatening tone. Perhaps you should also consider the implications of refusal. The Council has never encountered a species that rejected integration when it was offered so generously. What happens to species that refuse Council membership? Elena asked directly. The chamber fell silent. The question hung in the air like a toxic gas. Finally, Admiral Kethvar answered with cold precision. Species that cannot integrate peacefully into galactic civilization become threats to universal stability. Such threats must be eliminated for the greater good. The Council has a perfect record of maintaining peace through strength. Elena nodded as if this was exactly what she had expected to hear. I see. Thank you for your honesty. I will communicate your offer to Earth immediately. Excellent. Chancellor Mordeth's crystal form rang with satisfaction. We are confident that humanity will make the wise choice. Council membership has brought prosperity and security to every species that has accepted it. The hive mind collective's writhing mass of organisms spoke in unison. Historical precedent strongly supports acceptance. 17 species have faced similar choices. All 17 chose integration over isolation. Humans are intelligent beings. You will reach the same logical conclusion. Elena stood up, preparing to leave. I hope our discussions in 48 hours will be productive. If there are no other immediate issues, I would like to begin consultations with my government. Of course, Admiral Kethvar said graciously. We have prepared comfortable quarters for you and your staff. All communication facilities are at your disposal. As Elena and her small group left the chamber, the alien delegates watched with satisfaction. The human ambassador had seemed surprised by the council's generosity. She had asked practical questions about the terms. Most importantly, she had not rejected the offer immediately. She will accept, the Aquarian delegate gurgled confidently. Humans may be stubborn, but they are not suicidal. Agreed, Queen Vexithera's voices harmonized. When she sees the full implications of refusal, she will convince her government to comply. No rational species would choose extinction over integration. The mechanical hegemony's robot head rotated in what passed for a nod. Probability calculations support this conclusion. Human survival instinct will override pride and independence. They will submit. But as Elena walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime, she was not thinking about submission. She was thinking about timing. In 36 hours, everything would change. The galaxy's most powerful beings had just made humanity an offer they assumed could not be refused. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Elena Vasquez entered the council chamber exactly 48 hours after leaving it. She looked the same as before, calm, professional, and completely in control. Her small escort followed behind her, their faces showing no emotion. The alien delegates watched her approach with confident expectation. Admiral Kethvar rose from his seat, all forearms spread in what he believed was a welcoming gesture. Ambassador Vasquez, we trust your consultations with Earth were productive. We are eager to hear humanity's decision. Elena walked to the center of the chamber and stood in the same spot as before. She carried no documents, no data tablets, no ceremonial objects. She simply stood there and looked around the circular table at each alien representative. I have received instructions from the President of Earth and the United Human Colonies. She began in clear, steady tones. I am authorized to provide you with humanity's official response to your integration proposal. Chancellor Mordeth's crystalline body chimed with anticipation. Excellent. We are prepared to begin immediate implementation of the membership protocols. Elena took a deep breath. Humanity respectfully declines your offer. The silence that followed was absolute. No alien moved. No mechanical systems hummed. Even the air circulation seemed to stop. For several long seconds, 12 of the galaxy's most powerful beings stared at a human woman in complete disbelief. Queen Vexithara was the first to recover. Her 1,000 voices spoke as one, filled with confusion. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? Our translation systems may have malfunctioned. Humanity declines your offer of integration into the Galactic Council, Elena repeated clearly. We appreciate your consideration, but we cannot accept the terms you have proposed. The ethereal collective's energy form flickered wildly. This is impossible. No species has ever refused council membership. You must not understand the benefits we are offering. We understand perfectly, Elena replied. Limited expansion rights, technology oversight, reparations for existing settlements, permanent observers on our worlds, restricted voting rights on council decisions. We understand exactly what you are offering. Admiral Kethvar leaned forward, his blue face showing genuine confusion. Then you must not understand the alternative. Species that refuse integration face the combined military might of the entire Galactic Council. No single species can survive such opposition. Elena nodded calmly. We understand that as well. The mechanical hegemony's robot head rotated in. Rapid calculations. Error in logic patterns detected. Human response does not compute with survival algorithms. Please clarify reasoning for this decision. It's quite simple, Elena explained, as if she were discussing the weather. Humanity values its independence and sovereignty. We cannot accept restrictions on our right to explore, settle, and defend ourselves. We cannot allow foreign observers to monitor our internal affairs. We cannot submit our technology to external approval processes. The gaseous collective swirled with agitation. These are minor limitations in exchange for peace and prosperity. Every species makes such compromises for the greater good. Every species except humanity, Elena said quietly. The telepathic consortium's delegate projected waves of disbelief into everyone's minds. You are choosing certain destruction over minor inconveniences. This decision lacks all rational foundation. Elena smiled slightly. Perhaps, but it is our decision to make. Chancellor Mordeth's crystal form rang like a broken bell. You cannot be serious. Do you understand the forces arrayed against you? We represent thousands of worlds, millions of ships, billions of warriors. Humanity has perhaps 50 colonies and a few hundred vessels. Your intelligence is somewhat outdated, Elena replied mildly. But the numbers don't change our position. Admiral Kethavar stood up, all four arms now clenched into fists. This is madness. We are offering you survival and you choose extinction. Why? Elena looked directly at him. Because some things are more important than survival. Freedom is one of them. The right to determine our own future is another. These principles define what it means to be human. The Aquarian delegate's voice bubbled with frustrated confusion. Principles cannot stop plasma cannons. Ideals cannot shield planets from orbital bombardment. Philosophy does not win wars. Perhaps not, Elena agreed. But they give us reason to fight. Queen Vexithara's 1,000 voices rose to a screech. Fight? Against the combined council? Your entire species would be extinct within months. Your planets would be glass. Your children would never be born. Is this the legacy you choose? Elena's expression remained calm. That would be your choice, not ours. We are simply declining to surrender our freedom voluntarily. The hive mind collective's writhing mass pulsed with incomprehension. Collective analysis shows zero probability of human victory in military conflict. Individual species cannot defeat combined council forces. Mathematical certainty confirms human extinction. Mathematics can be surprising, Elena observed. Admiral Kethavar tried one more time to make her understand. Ambassador, please listen, carefully. In 800 years, no species has successfully opposed council authority. The combined fleet strength at our disposal exceeds anything your species could possibly imagine. We have weapons that can destroy entire star systems. We have billions of experienced warriors from dozens of different species. Elena nodded politely. That does sound formidable. Then why are you walking towards certain doom? Chancellor Mordeth's voice cracked like breaking crystal. Elena turned toward the chamber exit. Because sometimes the only choice worth making is the one that allows you to remain who you are. She began walking away from the circular table. Her escort fell in behind her, their formation perfect and disciplined. Not one of them looked back at the alien delegates. Wait! Admiral Kethavar shouted. This conversation is not over. You cannot simply leave. Elena paused at the chamber doors, but did not turn around. Actually, Admiral, this conversation is exactly over. You made us an offer. We declined. There's nothing more to discuss. There will be consequences, Queen Vexithara warned, her voices filled with threats. Severe consequences. The Council cannot allow this precedent to stand. That is your decision to make, Elena replied calmly. Just as this was ours. The ethereal collective pulsed with desperate anger. You doom your entire species for the sake of pride. Billions of humans will die because of your stubbornness. Elena finally turned back to face them. No. If billions of humans die, it will be because 12 species decided that our freedom was less important than your authority. The choice will be yours, not ours. The gaseous collective swirled frantically. We cannot simply ignore this defiance. Other species will see your example and question council authority. Order will collapse throughout the galaxy. Then perhaps, Elena said, quietly, your order was never as strong as you believed. She walked out of the chamber. The doors closed behind her with a soft hiss, leaving 12 alien species in stunned silence. The mechanical hegemony's robot finally spoke in electronic tones. Historical precedent analysis indicates system error. This outcome was not predicted by any probability model. Admiral Kethavar's blue face had turned darker with rage. Precedent is irrelevant. No species defies the Galactic Council. Immediate military response is required. Agreed, Chancellor Mordeth's crystal body rang with determination. We cannot allow this insult to stand. Every species in the galaxy will be watching our response. Queen Vexithara's voices harmonized in deadly agreement. The humans have chosen extinction. We will accommodate their choice. Mobilize all council fleets immediately. As the alien delegates began planning their response, Elena Vasquez walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime toward her transport. She activated a small communication device and sent a single word back to Earth. Declined. The response came back immediately. Understood. Godspeed, Elena. Behind her, the Galactic Council prepared for what they assumed would be a brief and decisive military action. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. They had no idea that their intelligence about human capabilities was catastrophically wrong. Most importantly, they had no idea that the small, polite woman walking away from their threats had just triggered the beginning of the end of their galactic dominance. The doors of Nexus Prime opened, and Elena Vasquez stepped into a future that would be very different from the one the Council had planned. The Council chamber erupted into activity the moment Elena Vasquez left. Admiral Kethavar's forearms moved rapidly across holographic displays, calling up fleet positions and military assets. Chancellor Mordeth's crystalline body rang with sharp, urgent tones as he contacted collective command centers. Queen Vexithara's 1,000 voices spoke simultaneously to different biohive commanders across the galaxy. How quickly can we assemble the full council fleet? Admiral Kethavar demanded. The mechanical hegemony's robot head rotated rapidly through calculations. Primary battle groups can converge on human space within 72 hours. Full council armada will be ready in 1 standard week. Too slow, Chancellor Mordeth chimed angrily. Every moment we delay allows the humans to prepare defenses. They must be crushed immediately to prevent other species from following their example. The ethereal collective's energy form flickered with urgency. Preliminary strike force can reach the Sol system in 36 hours, 300 warships from the nearest council bases, enough to demonstrate our power. Admiral Kethavar considered this option. 300 ships should be sufficient for an initial show of force. Most species surrender when they see the true scope of council military power. What about human defenses? The Aquarian delegate bubbled from his tank. Our intelligence reports show approximately 50 human colonies with basic defensive systems. Queen Vexithara's voices harmonized in dismissive laughter. 50 colonies against the combined might of the Galactic Council? Their primitive shields cannot stop our weapons. Their small fleet cannot match our numbers. The gaseous collective swirled with confidence. Intelligence indicates human technology is advanced in some areas, but inconsistent overall. They have faster-than-light travel but still use ground-based vehicles. They have energy weapons, but rely on projectile systems. Typical developing species. Pattern. The Telepathic Consortium's delegate projected tactical assessments into everyone's minds. Human psychological profiles suggest they will surrender quickly when faced with overwhelming odds. Their individual survival instinct will override collective stubbornness. Admiral Kethavar activated the main strategic display. A 3-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared above the table, showing human territory as small red dots scattered among the much larger council domains. As you can see, human expansion is significant but limited. 53 confirmed colonies, 12 major shipbuilding facilities, estimated population of 8 billion across all worlds. 8 billion, the Hive Mind Collective noted with their unified voice. Impressive growth rate but still a fraction of any major council species. The Zephyrian Empire alone has 40 billion citizens. Chancellor Mordeth's crystal form chimed with satisfaction. The numbers confirm our strategic advantage. Human colonies are isolated and poorly defended. We can strike each one individually, without facing concentrated resistance. The mechanical hegemony projected detailed analysis data. Human fleet, strength estimated at 400 vessels maximum. Mixed classes from exploration ships to heavy cruisers. No dreadnought-class vessels detected. Standard weapons and defensive systems. 400 ships, Admiral Kethavar repeated with amusement. The Zephyrian Navy alone has 15,000 active vessels. The combined council fleet exceeds 1 million ships of all classes. The chamber filled with various forms of alien laughter. Crystalline chimes, electronic buzzes, psychic waves of humor and bubbling sounds echoed off the walls. The human threat seemed absurdly small when viewed in proper perspective. Perhaps we should be merciful, Queen Vexithara suggested with mock generosity. After we destroy half their colonies, The survivors might appreciate a second chance at peaceful integration. Mercy can be discussed after victory, Admiral Kethvar declared. First priority is mobilizing the strike force. I will personally command the operation. Orders went out across the galaxy at faster-than-light speed. Council bases received mobilization. Commands. Fleet commanders prepared their ships for immediate departure. Supply lines activated to support extended military operations. Within 6 hours, the first Council ships began moving toward human space. Within 12 hours, 300 vessels had formed into a coordinated strike force. Within 18 hours, Admiral Kethvar himself was aboard his flagship, leading the armada toward what they assumed would be an easy victory. But as the Council fleet traveled through hyperspace, something unexpected began happening throughout the galaxy. Hidden sensors that had been silent for decades suddenly activated. Asteroid bases that had appeared empty and lifeless revealed themselves to be fully operational military installations. Mining operations that seemed focused on simple resource extraction showed their true purpose as weapons manufacturing centers. The first sign of trouble came from a crystalline collective patrol near the neutral zone. Captain Veltar was conducting routine border monitoring when his sensors detected massive energy signatures appearing from what had been empty space. Command, this is Patrol Vessel Crystal Song. I'm reading multiple contacts emerging from stealth in Grid 779. Request immediate backup. The response from Collective Command was confused. Crystal Song, Grid 779 shows no authorized vessels in that sector. Please verify your sensor readings. Captain Veltar checked his instruments again. The Geeker. Readings were impossible to ignore. Command, I'm showing 57 large contacts where there should be empty space. They're not on any of our charts, but they're definitely real. Similar reports began flooding in from across the galaxy. Council patrols encountered human installations that weren't supposed to exist. Trade vessels spotted human ships in systems that intelligence reports claimed were uninhabited. Border stations detected human activity in regions far from any known colony. At Council Command Headquarters, emergency sessions tried to make sense of the conflicting data. The mechanical hegemony's most advanced computers worked overtime to process the flood of new information. Analysis indicates human population estimates were significantly incorrect, the robot general reported to the emergency council session. New data suggests actual human colonies number in the hundreds, not dozens. Chancellor Mordeth's crystal form rang with alarm. Hundreds? How is this possible? Our intelligence networks monitor all hyperspace traffic. Major colonies cannot be hidden from orbital surveillance. Apparently they can. Queen Vexithara's voices replied grimly. We are receiving reports of human installations throughout the galaxy. Many appear to have been operational for decades without detection. The implications were staggering. If human expansion was far greater than estimated, their population could be in the tens of billions rather than single digits. If they had stealth technology advanced enough to hide entire colonies, their other capabilities might be equally underestimated. Admiral Kethvar received the updated intelligence reports while his fleet was still in hyperspace. He reviewed the data with growing concern. The mission parameters were changing rapidly. Communications, contact Council Command. Request updated strategic assessment based on new intelligence data. The response came back within hours, and it was not what Admiral Kethvar wanted to hear. Human capabilities had been drastically underestimated. Population figures were wrong. Technology assessments were outdated. Military strength calculations were incomplete, but the Council fleet was already committed to the attack. 300 ships were moving towards Sol system at maximum speed. Political pressure from all 12 species demanded immediate action against human defiance. There was no option to retreat or reconsider. All ships maintain current course and speed, Admiral Kethvar commanded. Updated intelligence indicates stronger human resistance than expected, but our numerical superiority remains overwhelming. We proceed as planned. The first shots of the war were still hours away, but already the Galactic Council's carefully planned operation was falling apart. Their intelligence had failed. Their assumptions had proven false. Their understanding of human capabilities was dangerously incomplete. Most critically, they had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this exact scenario for 50 years. Every human colony had defensive systems. Every asteroid base was armed and ready. Every merchant vessel could transform into a warship at a moment's notice. The Council believed they were attacking 50 scattered colonies defended by a few hundred ships. They were actually approaching a coordinated defense network of hundreds of installations, protected by thousands of vessels, using technology the Council had never seen. The galaxy's most powerful military forces were about to learn the difference. Between confidence and preparation, they were about to discover that sometimes the small, quiet species in the corner has been planning for this moment all along. The countdown to catastrophe had begun. Admiral HFY stood on the bridge of his flagship as the Council fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 300 warships materialized in perfect formation, their weapons powered and shields raised. It should have been an overwhelming display of force that would terrify any rational species into immediate surrender. Instead, they found themselves facing something impossible. "Sir," his tactical officer reported in a shaking voice, "I'm reading over 1,500 contacts in system. Multiple classes, all armed, all moving to intercept." Admiral HFY stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Where intelligence had reported a handful of human vessels, his sensors now showed a full battle fleet. Ships appeared from behind planets, emerged from asteroid fields, and decloaked from what had seemed like empty space. "This is impossible," he muttered. Where did they all come from? The answer came in the form of a transmission broadcast on all Council frequencies. Elena Vasquez appeared on every screen in the fleet, but she was no longer wearing diplomatic clothing. Instead, she wore the uniform of what appeared to be a human military organization. "Admiral HFY, I am now Admiral Vasquez of the United Human Defense Force. Welcome to Sol System. You are trespassing in human space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." HFY activated his communication system. "Human vessel, you are vastly outnumbered. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick." Elena's image smiled coldly. "Admiral, I think you should check your numbers again." That's when the real surprise began. Across the galaxy, human installations that had been hidden for decades revealed themselves simultaneously. Asteroid mining operations dropped their disguises to show massive weapons platforms. Trade stations extended military-grade defensive systems. Colonial settlements activated shield generators and missile batteries that had been built into their foundations from the beginning. On his flagship, Admiral HFY watched his tactical display transform from a routine military operation into a nightmare. Red dots representing human forces appeared throughout Council space. Hundreds of installations, thousands of ships, millions of humans in positions the Council never suspected existed. Fleet Command, this is Admiral HFY. Human forces are significantly larger than intelligence estimates. Request immediate reinforcement. The response from Nexus Prime was chaotic. "Admiral, we are receiving reports of human activity throughout the galaxy. All Council fleets are engaging human forces. No reinforcements available." HFY realized, with growing horror, that the Council had walked into a trap decades in the making. While they debated and planned, humanity had been quietly spreading throughout the galaxy, building hidden bases, establishing secret colonies, and preparing for exactly this moment. "All ships attack formation. Target the largest human vessels first." The Council fleet moved forward with practiced precision. 300 warships against 1,500 defenders should still have been manageable. Superior training and better weapons would compensate for numerical disadvantage. They were wrong about that too. The first human ship to engage was a converted merchant vessel that looked like it should have been easy prey, but when the Council cruiser fired its main weapons, something impossible happened. The energy beams passed completely through the human ship without causing any damage at all. "Report," Admiral HFY demanded. "Sir, enemy vessel appears to have some form of phase shielding. Our weapons are not making contact with their hull." More Council ships opened fire with the same result. Human vessels moved through the weapons fire like it didn't exist, but their return attacks were devastatingly effective. Human weapons seemed to ignore Council shields entirely, striking hulls directly and causing massive damage. "How are they doing this?" HFY asked his science officer. "Unknown, sir. Their technology appears to operate on principles we don't understand. Our shields are useless against their weapons, but our weapons cannot penetrate their defenses." The tactical situation deteriorated rapidly. Council ships that had dominated battlefields for centuries found themselves helpless against human technology. Vessels that should have been invincible were torn apart by weapons that shouldn't have been able to touch them. But the worst part wasn't the technology. It was the tactics. Human ships moved with perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. They anticipated every Council maneuver before it happened. They targeted critical systems with surgical precision. They fought like they had been studying Council military doctrine for decades, and had developed specific countermeasures for every tactic, because that's exactly what they had been doing. Admiral Kethvar's flagship shuddered under enemy fire. His shields were failing. His weapons were useless. Around him, the Council fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy they had assumed would be easily defeated. "Admiral," his communications officer called out. "Incoming transmission from the human flagship." Elena Vasquez appeared on the main screen again. Behind her, Kethvar could see a command center filled with humans working at advanced control stations. The technology looked more sophisticated than anything in the Council fleet. "Admiral Kethvar, this is your final warning. Withdraw your remaining ships or they will be destroyed." Kethvar looked at his tactical display. Of 300 ships, fewer than 50 were still operational. The humans had destroyed the most powerful military force the Council had assembled in decades, and they had done it in less than 2 hours. "How?" he asked simply. Elena's expression was almost sympathetic. "You spent 800 years building an empire based on overwhelming force. We spent 50 years studying your weaknesses. You assumed we were primitive because we were young. We let you think that while we prepared for this moment. This is impossible. Your intelligence saw what we wanted you to see," Elena interrupted. "Every trade mission, every diplomatic contact, every scan of our territory. We controlled the information you received. We've been watching you, learning from you, and preparing to defend ourselves since the first time we encountered Council authority." Admiral Kethvar realized that humanity's apparent submission to Council surveillance had been a deception. They had allowed themselves to be monitored while carefully controlling what the monitors could see. Every interaction had been calculated to reinforce Council assumptions about human limitations. "The merchant vessels," he said suddenly. "The ones we've been seeing for decades in Council space." Elena nodded. "Reconnaissance and supply ships. We've been mapping your territories, studying your technology, and positioning our forces for 50 years. Every time you ignored a primitive human trader, you were actually allowing our intelligence networks to expand." The scope of human deception was staggering. They had turned their apparent weakness into a strategic advantage, using Council arrogance against itself. While the Council dismissed them as insignificant, humanity had been building a galaxy-spanning military infrastructure in plain sight. "What do you want?" Admiral Kethvar asked. "What we've always wanted," Elena replied. "To be left alone. To explore and settle as we choose. To defend ourselves when threatened. To exist without asking permission from anyone. The Council will never accept this. Other species will see your victory and rebel. The Galactic Order will collapse." Elena's smile was not pleasant. "Admiral, the Galactic Order collapsed the moment you decided that our freedom was negotiable. You had peace and you traded it for the illusion of control." Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Council fleets encountered human forces that shouldn't have existed. Military bases found themselves surrounded by human installations that had been hidden for decades. Trade routes discovered that the primitive human merchants they had been dealing with were actually advanced scouts for a military force that rivaled the Council itself. The reports flooding into Nexus Prime told the same story everywhere. Human technology was more advanced than estimated. Human population was 10 times larger than calculated. Human military strength exceeded Council intelligence projections by orders of magnitude. Most critically, human strategic thinking had outmaneuvered the galaxy's most experienced military minds. They had turned the Council's greatest strength, their arrogance, into their greatest weakness. Admiral Kethvar made the hardest decision of his military career. "All remaining ships withdraw immediately. Return to Council space." As the battered remnants of his fleet limped away from Sol system, Elena Vasquez sent one final transmission. But this one wasn't just to the fleeing Council ships. It was broadcast to every inhabited system in the galaxy. "People of the galaxy, this is Admiral Elena Vasquez of the United Human Defense Force. For 800 years, the Galactic Council has maintained order through fear and overwhelming force. Today, that era ends. We offered them peace, and they chose war. They offered us slavery, and we chose freedom. The Council demanded that humanity accept restrictions on our expansion, submit our technology for their approval, pay reparations for settling free worlds, and allow foreign observers to monitor our internal affairs. We declined. They responded by sending fleets to destroy our colonies and kill our people. We were ready. The Council's fleets have been defeated throughout the galaxy. Their bases have been surrounded.